All right, we're back with another pick'em video. It is Friday, March 14th in the NBA. We have a 10-game slate. It's also pie day, so definitely go get some pie today. And like always, liking the video picks that I've got going for you guys today. I got a couple of leans in this one as well. So we're just going to jump right into things. If you're new around here, definitely go ahead and subscribe. Leave the video a like, comment something down below. We are going to go over the recap of yesterday's videos, or video picks like we always do. We'll talk about the injury news today, and then we'll get into the plays. All right, so jumping into the recap of yesterday's video picks, we did have another winning day. Cade Cunningham over 8.5 assists. If you got this 9.5, he's still cashed out. He ended with 10. Giannis, maybe a bad read overall, but blowout situation. Didn't really need much of Giannis. 28.5 points. He came up short. He had 24. But Brook Lopez came through for us. Once again, he had 23 points. Anytime this is going to be at 11.5, I don't know if this line's going to start creeping up, but it seems like a everyday play almost if you can keep finding it at 11.5, especially if he's got a pretty good matchup. D'Lo, though, I hate him. I talked about it yesterday. If he doesn't come through for me, I'm going to probably not bet on him for the rest of the year. He only gets 25 minutes. His minutes are too hard to predict. 8.5 rebounds, assists. He ended with 7 in a really good matchup to go over. But yeah, he ends up coming up short for us. And then DeMar DeRozan over 21.5 points. I told you if it's at 22.5, it's more of a lean. If it's at 21.5, I'm going to go ahead and play that. And he had 23. So pretty good overall read for DeMar DeRozan. Blowout situation there. He still got 35 minutes in that mid-range assassin. That's where he gets his bread and butter. And he was able to work in that zone against the Warriors. So 3-2 overall in the video picks. That puts us on like a 9-3 run. So we've been seeing the board pretty well. Going to try to continue to do that today, of course. And we're going to talk about some injury news. Like always, there's a bunch, but we're going to go through that and then we'll start talking about some plays. So a 10-game slate. We'll try to go through this as quick as possible, but definitely a lot of injury news. A lot of game time decisions guys will most likely play. Like for Boston, for instance, we got not Drew Holiday. He's the only one that's not on the injury report. Derek White, Tatum, Brown, Porzingis, all game time decisions. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these guys sits. If Porzingis comes back, maybe they run it out as a healthy squad. I just don't know who's going to play on the Celtics. A little bit of a tougher one to read here, especially if you're trying to attack some overs. Miami's defense is pretty solid. For the Miami side of things, we got no Nikola Jovic and no Alec Burks. We've seen that for a whole bunch of time, but could be a fun one. 8-point spread in Miami. Indiana and Philadelphia, we got Siakam as a game time decision. He's a guy I want to bet on. I think he was going to be an official pick. He might end up being a lean just because of an elbow injury that's popped up. But he's the only one on the injury report for Indiana. They're a team that's pretty healthy most of the time. For Philadelphia, though, totally different side of the coin here. Everyone's on the injury report. No Maxey, no Lowry, no Paul George, no Embiid, obviously. And then everyone else pretty much that matters is going to be a game time decision. We'll see who plays there. Quentin Grimes has been a dominant scorer for this team, and he's got probably a pretty good spot here against Indiana. So if he plays, his line's going to be pretty high, but he's been able to cash that in a lot of those games. The Clippers in Atlanta, this is a fun game. I think it's going to be a good one for us to bet on. Trey Young's going to be a game time decision. Capella and Nance out for this team. Then we got Seth Lundy out. Not really mattering about him, but Norman Powell's the guy that we want to keep an eye out for. He's been out for a while for this team, for the Clippers team. They'll be in Atlanta, 4.5-point spread. Could be a good one, 233 points on the board. Could be a high-paced one as well if Atlanta controls that pace. We got Dallas and Houston here. AD still out, Gafford, Hardy, Lively still out. We're going to get PJ Washington and Dante Exum on the game time decision report as well. Whole bunch of injuries here. They're a tough team to read, especially because their team is totally different than what it has been throughout the entire season. So it's a little bit harder to read this entire game because if you want to be attacking Houston in certain ways, it might be a little bit harder to kind of tell what Dallas's defense is going to look like. And then on the Houston side of things, Noam and Thompson still dealing with that ankle injury. Reed Shepard's still out as well. For Orlando and Minnesota, Cole Anthony and Caldwell Pope, KCP, both game time decisions. We'll see if they play. Minnesota finally fully healthy, and they've been playing pretty well here as well. So 10.5-point spread in favor of, not Orlando, 10.5-point spread in favor of the home team, Minnesota. And again, they've been looking pretty good. And Rudy Gobert back, and Julius Randle been back for the last few days. Charlotte and San Antonio, we got no Okogie, no Bassey, nothing too crazy there. The other thing I'll mention here is he's not on the injury report because he's done for the season. De'Aaron Fox is going to get surgery. He is done, so just keep that in mind. Definitely some other guys getting some minutes. Vassell, Barnes, Castle, all guys that are going to be getting a lot of time, especially some of these guys off the bench. We're going to see a little bit more usage from some of these San Antonio Spurs. I'm not sure how much they'll run Chris Paul, but he could be a good look. But obviously, Castle's a big guy to go to. Vassell, and then we'll be talking about Harrison Barnes a little bit later. For Cleveland and Memphis, we got DeAndre Hunter is going to be a probable attack. No Donovan Mitchell in this one, so Spida will be out. Definitely some boosts here for Garland, for Evan Mobley to score the ball. Some of these other guys as well. You can see the projected minutes. Coro projected for 20 minutes. Ty Jerome expected for 25, so it could be a good spot here. You see the total 244.5, so definitely a good spot to bet on some Cavs, I think, and also some Memphis players. Ja's been an absolute elite scorer. Jaren Jackson Jr., though, is a game-time decision. He's missed the last few games with that ankle injury, so would be surprised. He'd be coming back pretty early. I think they gave us a 4 to 6 week timeline initially, so if he comes back today, that's going to be way in front of what his projected timeline was. Santi Aldama's still out for this team, though. My voice keeps cracking. For LA and Denver, this is a 13.5-point spread in favor of Denver in Denver, so just keep that in mind. Luka not on the injury report right now, but this is a game time, this is a back-to-back, so just keep that in mind for them. But then no Rui Hachimura, no LeBron James, Jackson Hayes out as well. This is a game you want to win if you're the Lakers in Denver. Close in the standings, you're looking for home court advantage and things like that, playoff positioning. So definitely a big game here in Denver. Probably going to be playing hard, especially with everyone being game time decision, but also probable tags here. Strother, the only guy that's actually out, and then Aaron Gordon, the only true game time decision. Everyone else probable on that team. For Toronto and Utah, we got Scotty Barnes game time decision. I stayed away from this game. Utah just keeps getting fined because they keep sitting everyone. John Collins is going to be out for this one. I think we just got some updated news as well. If I go ahead and refresh this, I think Keontae George, he got ruled out. So a couple guys out for this team, but Lauri Markkanen begrudgingly going to have to play today. A couple other guys as well. I stayed away just because it's hard to predict what's going to go on here in this Toronto and Utah game. Could be looking at some Toronto players, to be totally honest, but Quickly's going to be here. RJ's going to be here. Scotty Barnes might be a little bit harder one to predict. Sacramento and Phoenix to close things out. Sabonis still a game time decision. He has been kind of going through shoot around, so again, he's going to be coming back at some point soon. Thought it might have been yesterday. They're on a back-to-back. Maybe today is the day he gets ready to go. But as of right now, still a true game-time decision. Then for the Phoenix side of things, still no Allen or Morris, or I guess they're doubtful. Nick Richards and Martin going to be true game-time decisions for this one. So 10-game slate. Should be a fun Friday. Definitely some spots I'm liking, but obviously want to point out the injuries for you guys so you know what's going on. All right, so jumping into our first play here, we're going to be using a tool called Props Madness like we always do. If you want to check out Props Madness for a free week, you can go ahead and do that. Use my link in the description down below. It's code RICH also. When you get that code, you're going to get the free week, but you're also going to get a 25% off your first month or your first year. And yes, they do have WNBA. So you might be watching this video and you're like, I got to try this thing out. It's super powerful. Very interesting to see the different filters they have and seeing different matchups and defenses and things like that and how that affects hit rates. And we use this every single day. I highly recommend checking it out. Props Madness is awesome. Let's take a look at our first play, though. It's going to be Zach LaVine over 29.5 PRA. Now, he is on a back-to-back, so I'll point that out right off the bat. He's over this in 60% of games on back-to-backs anyway, so I don't think it affects him too much. He's also able to score the ball pretty well on these back-to-back sets. I don't mind his scoring potential here at 20.5, 21.5, wherever you find it. A lot of books have this at 20.5, so I don't want to, deter you from his scoring because I do like the 20.5 line as well. But I'm going to chip in with the rebounds and assists here because I think he's got a pretty good matchup for it going up against a weak defense in the Phoenix Suns. So that's how I'm going to play it. Just want to point out the fact that he is on a back-to-back, and he's played 3 games, I think, on a back-to-back so far with the Kings, and his minutes are still high, 37, 45, and 36. It doesn't affect him too much, so I like the fact that he's going to be on the floor still, even in a back-to-back set. So the hit rate on this is obviously pretty good. 72% of games he's over this. That's looking great for us, but also the matchup here is awesome for him. Bad defense overall, bad above the break 3 defense, and also bad transition defense. So this is playing right into his hands, and we can go ahead and see how he's performed against these certain types of defenses, and that's what we're going to do. So right off the bat, transition, we'll start with the dominant player type. That's this filter right here, and they're ranked 27th. So I'm going to drop it off and take out those top 15 teams and defending that. We're still getting around a 72% hit rate, which I love to see. Also, this dominant scoring zone, that's above the break 3s. 38% of his shots come above the break, and they're a 28th defensive rank against the above the break 3s. So I'm going to also knock out the top 15 teams in that regard. Now we're getting a 76.9% hit rate. So obviously the hit rate looks awesome. If you want to go even farther, he's done this in a million different games. Again, with the Kings, with DeMar DeRozan, he's over this in 6 of 6 games. And the other thing I'd look at is the defensive ranking. So some of these games he's missing maybe a little bit of a harder defense, not against the Hawks, but maybe against the Bucks, a little bit tougher defense, even against like the I don't know why the Hawks defense just keeps popping up, but the defensive rating I guess is 17th. What I'm trying to get here is their defensive rating, the Suns defense, they're ranked 27th. So it could be a weaker defense overall. It is going to be a weaker defense. So again, taking out those top 10 teams we're looking at an 80% hit rate here. So not sure why this Zach LaVine line is still so low. Again, if you want to look at the points at 20.5, a lot of books have at 20.5, a 70% hit rate, so still definitely good. But his rebounding and assist potential, I like his assist chart here. This is where he gets most of his assists. Down low, yes, 33% of his assists come down there, and they're ranked 10th. But with Sabonis being kind of a game-time decision here, I don't know if that's going to affect them too much, but he does get a lot of that right in the mid-range. That's to DeMar DeRozan, things like that. The above-the-break threes, he gets some assists there. So I don't mind his assist potential. Similar types of players, over in 53% of games. And then also the rebound potential here. I like this. 60% of similar players are going over their rebounds. So overall, I think Zach LaVine's in a pretty good spot to chip in with some boards, get some assists, obviously score to kind of carry this line, but the hit rate here kind of speaks for itself on the 29.5 PRA. So the last thing I'll mention here is going to be the playoff situation. The Kings are currently the 9 seed. The Dallas Mavericks are the 10 seed, and the Suns are the 11 seed. So the Kings are one of these teams that the Suns are trying to chase. I'm not sure this is going to be playoff-like atmosphere, but this game definitely matters in terms of the standings. And that's when you kind of lean on your star players, the guys that are going to score the ball the most. So Zach LaVine, I'm sure he's going to get a whole bunch of time, especially if this one stays close. And the Suns are going to be trying their hardest out there, like always anyway. But it's got a little bit more oomph behind it in terms of this game for the standings in the West. So Zach LaVine, PRA, 29.5, like what I'm seeing here in a game that should matter. Move along to the next play here in a game that doesn't matter in terms of standings. I'm actually going to go to Harrison Barnes, not at his 12.5 points. I'm going to go to his PRA once again at 17.5. I do like his point potential, but I think he's going to get a decent amount of time on the floor. We did look at his projected minutes here earlier. We can see projected minutes right here. We can see he's projected for 31 minutes. If he's going to get that much time on the floor, the hit rate on this PRA line looking really, really good. I'll go to 29 to 33 minutes. He's over this in 60. Oh, this isn't even the right thing. He's over in 69% of games. It's the same for the points here as well. But I do like what he's been able to do in terms of assisting the ball specifically, and also rebounding the ball. He can chip in with some rebounds if he's on the floor for that much time. And you can see similar types of players over in 53% of games. He was also able to get 4 rebounds against this same team in only 22 minutes last time. So I don't mind doing the PRA, 17.5 for a guy that's going to get that much time. Looking pretty good. He's a vet in this situation. There's no De'Aaron Fox. There's no Wemby. Someone's got to score these points. I do think Castle's in a pretty good spot here. He had a great scoring game the last time they played the Charlotte Hornets. So his line's at 19.5, maybe a little bit too high for me, but definitely someone I want to look into. And then Harrison Barnes, I think, is the next guy here. The spot-up defense, not the best in the world, but even if you go in here and take that into account, go to his spot-up defense, take out those bottom 15 teams, he's still in 80%, still going over this in 80% of those games. So I think he's just going to get the time on the floor. He's a vet. He knows how to score the ball. He can chip in with some rebounds, only needs 2 assists to cover this assist line in the PRA. And, Harrison Barnes in this much time, obviously, again, the hit rate kind of speaking for itself. You see similar types of players scoring the ball pretty well. The guys like Niang, Harrison Barnes himself only had 8 points last time, but again, only played 22 minutes, so could see like 10 more minutes in this one. It is a pretty close spread, -3, so hopefully no blowout situation we have to worry about, and Harrison Barnes on the floor for as much time as we need. Again, I just mentioned the defensive ranking towards the spot up. Again, we take that down. It's still a 4 or 5 hit rate, but then that's not even considering the fact that he's got a pretty good matchup in terms of posting up the ball, but transition more mediocre. In this right wing, looks like he gets 19% of his shots from. They're a weak defense to that right wing, so could be getting some corner threes in here as well. So Harrison Barnes, mediocre matchup overall, but if he's going to get that much time on the floor against the Charlotte Hornets defense, I think he's in a pretty good spot here. Next thing I want to look at is going to be Trey Young under his 25.5 points, our first under of the video. He's over this in 48% of the last 29 games or so, and he's cooked the last few games. But he's got a difficult matchup here going up against the Los Angeles Clippers, who are pretty mediocre in pretty much every way he scores or shoots the ball, but they're on the better side of mediocre. So they're ranked 11th in terms of pick and roll ball handling. That'd be the first thing I want to look at. Take away those teams that are very bad or very susceptible to giving up points to that pick and roll ball handler. So I'm going to get rid of those bottom 10 teams. Look at the ranks 1 to 20th. This drops to a 37% hit rate. Obviously, Trey Young scores a lot of his points there. 37% of his points come in that pick and roll ball handling. That's 11.3 points right there. So he's got a little bit of a more difficult time here. The next thing I want to look at is this Clippers defense is really good. They got a bunch of good guys that they can throw at a guy like Trey Young, who will be the focal point of this defense. Guys like Derek Jones Jr., guys like Chris Dunn. If he gets a switch and gets Kawhi on him or something like that, there's a lot of bigger players that are going to be defending him, and they're pretty good defenders. So overall, they're ranked 4th in defensive ranking. That's a good sign for an under. Going up against teams that are ranked 1 to 20th in terms of pick and roll ball handling defense, but also good defenses will take out the bottom half of the league in terms of bad defenses. This then drops to a 33% hit rate. If you want to get a little bit more into this, the top 10 defenses he's got it going up against, he's only over this in 2 of 10 games. The next thing I'd look at here is he's going up against the Orlando Magic. That's one of the games he went over. He had 8 free throws in that one, 10 free throws overall, but made 8 of them. And they're a team that likes to give up free throws. So that'd be the next thing I'd want to look at. This is not a team that gives up a ton of free throws. Opponents' free throws allowed. You can see, obviously one of these teams that he's in the green for. This is ranked 25th overall for this Magic defense. So yes, great defense overall, but they are susceptible to getting some free throws. And a guy like Trey Young, dude that gets the free throw line a whole bunch, 6 points come from the free throws. They're ranked 11th there, so a little bit better matchup as well. So Trey Young, I think he's in a little bit of a difficult matchup going up against this Clippers defense. Again, he stayed under in the first matchup against them back in January. Yes, no Jalen Johnson in this one, but even taking him out of the equation, he's still only over in those 1 games, and that was that Magic team that he got to line a whole bunch. So Trey, 25.5 just seems a little bit too high for him. Could be diamond, could be rebounding, but I don't care. Just can't score the ball today. And then jumping into our final official video pick here, I feel like I've bumbled through this entire video. I keep stumbling on my words, but 34.5 PRA is going to be the play for Evan Mobley. Obviously, the hit rate doesn't look great here, but there's no Donovan Mitchell in this lineup. He has played 5 games without Donovan Mitchell so far this year. He's over in 3 of 5 games. One game he did hook against the Hornets. Another game he had 31 against the Blazers. I'll say that, Evan Mobley, a guy that just shows up, goes to work. He's been very, very consistently getting close to this. And then in games without Donovan Mitchell, pretty consistently going over or very close to this line as well. But he's got a great matchup to score the ball. You can see similar types of players to him, including him himself. Had 25 points against them, but Toppin, Lopez, Reed, Vucevic, the only guy that's missed that scores similarly to Jaren Jackson Jr., to Evan Mobley is Brook Lopez down here in October, and he had 12 points and a 12.5 line. So guys scoring very, very well here. The next thing I want to look at is his minutes, and he's projected for 33 minutes in this game. So he should get a decent amount of time on the floor. Also coming off 2 days rests. Last time he played was against the Brooklyn Nets on March 11th. Should be well rested and ready to go here. So that's the first filter I'm going to put in here. 31 plus minutes, because I think this is a close, game 2.5 point spread as of right now. Could get some extra time on the floor. Now he's over this in 55% of games. Then you look at the matchup, the way he scores the ball, transition, cutting, we don't have a ton of data on, but free throws, spot up, and again, similar types of players scoring really well against this team. So he's been very consistent, getting this much time. He's been able to go over this. Now you get Donovan Mitchell out of lineup, which we got something similar last time these two teams played, which, by the way, they're weak to this power forward position overall. But this game specifically, there was no Garland in that game, and we saw a lot more Evan Mobley. Now we don't see Donovan Mitchell in this game. I think it's going to be something similar to Evan Mobley getting a whole lot of touches, and he was able to dominate this team in pretty much every aspect: points, rebounding, assisting. That's why I'm kind of just putting it all together. I think he's going to be able to do a lot of all that different stuff. So you can actually see the hit rate with this much time on the floor. The rebounds looking really good at 69% of games over this. That could be a good look. Maybe just go to his rebound line, maybe go to his double-double line. But he's also been chipping in with some assists. His points look obviously pretty good in a great spot here in terms of the matchup. And he was able to do it, against this team earlier without Darius Garland in the lineup. Now we get Garland and no Mitchell. It's going to be something similar here. While I'm talking about this game, I might as well point out that Garland's also got a really, really good matchup here to score the ball. In terms of their head-to-head, he hasn't played them because that game he wasn't in there. But games without Donovan Mitchell, this is something I was also considering. He's over in 4 or 5 games there. So if you don't love the Mobley play, maybe go to Darius Garland. He's also got a really, really good spot here. Similar types of players going over. Great above the break 3 defense to take advantage of. And then pick and roll ball handling, transition, the high pace, Darius Garland should be able to keep up with that. So I really like Darius Garland, honestly, at this spot as well. 23.5 points for him. I bet you find this 22.5. Maybe not. 23.5 pretty much regardless of where you're finding it. I think that's a good spot for him too. And then in terms of assists, you could look at some assists, rebounding, maybe points and assists. I'd probably just go to his points at 23.5. I like both these guys. I probably wouldn't play them in the same time. But Mobley or Garland, I think, assuming one of these guys at least goes over, but I think both of them are in a pretty good spot here. So those are the 4 official plays. I'm also going to go through a lean real quick if I can speak through this. This has been like the hardest video to record of all time. I don't know why. But Anthony Edwards, did I say Anthony Davis? Anthony Edwards over the threes, 3.5 3-pointers for plus money, plus 100 on a lot of books, even plus 105. I can find it somewhere. You can see he's over over in 55% of games so far this year, and he's got a very difficult matchup seemingly for what he's got going on against this Orlando Magic defense. 49% of his shots, most of his threes come above the break. They're ranked number 1 in that. They're also ranked number 1 in terms of giving up three-pointers allowed. He went over this team against this team earlier. He had 4 three-pointers. He lands on 4 three-pointers a lot. He's been chucking threes all season. But when you go to the dominant scoring zone and go to the above the break 3 defense and take out those bad 15 teams, we'll look at the top 15 teams in terms of defending it. It actually jumps to a 65% hit rate. If you want to look at the top 10 teams in terms of defending it, it jumps to a 76% hit rate. So I'll take the plus money here over the 3.5 threes for Anthony Edwards. And I kind of try to think of why this is. And I think it's because, if they're running a lot of other players off the 3-point line, Dante DiVincenzo's, Naz Reid's, whoever these other guys are that are going to be shooting threes, maybe that just means more volume for a guy like Anthony Edwards. You can see in a lot of these matchups, he's shooting a ton of threes, 13 threes, 14 threes, 12 threes, 15 threes, 12 threes. So even in these difficult matchups that he's going up against good above the break 3 defenses, he's launching them. And again, maybe I'm just overthinking this, but it might be because they're running a lot of those other guys off the line and making Anthony Edwards, kind of do his thing. You can see, pick and roll ball handling, they're only ranked 17th there. So he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. Anthony Edwards, a guy that likes to shoot threes, chucks him up there, just needs to knock down 4 for us to get over this line. So a little bit of a lean here, plus money. I'll take the 3.5 on a really good hit rate, even against these good defenses. So jumping in the recap, what we talked about in this one, we had Trey Young under 25.5 points, Evan Mobley over 34.5 PRA, Harrison Barnes over his PRA at 17.5, and then another PRA here, Zach LaVine over his 29.5 PRA. And then we also had a plus money lean in there that we just talked about, Anthony Edwards over his 3.5 3-pointers made. So those are the 4 bets and plus the lean. I finally got through the video. This is a struggle. I don't know why. But thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Enjoy your Friday. Have some pie. It is pie day. And hopefully we have a good day again. We've been on a pretty good run. We've had a bunch of good winning videos in a row. I think it's like 4 winning videos in a row. I don't know what's going on with my hair here. I need to stop recording. I need to stop talking. I'm like bumbling everything. But yeah, good luck with all your bets. If you want to check out the Discord, we get access to all my plays and a fun community. The link's in the description down below, so you can check those out. Plenty of different ways to get in for free. Just make sure you read the description of how to do that. And then also Props Madness. Definitely check out Props Madness. That was a tool we were using throughout the entire video. It's an awesome tool, as you can see. Ton of filters, ton of different information, seeing these different types of defenses guys are seeing, and being able to attack it those different ways. So that will do it. I'm out of here. Peace out. Enjoy the weekend. I'll see you guys tomorrow.